share something with y'all that has truly been a blessing for my life. What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? How is everybody doing here? Let me just check some things out. Okay. All right. All right. How's all my protectors doing? Be sure to check out. You can always listen to us on the podcast platforms, as you guys can see on the screen there. All right. You got Anchor, of course, Spotify. What else you have here? Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and I mentioned Spotify already, and Anchor. All right, so be sure to, whenever you're on the road and you can't catch the show and watch it, you can always listen to us on those podcast listening platforms, and I'm sure we're on many others that are not mentioned here. All right, so we appreciate that. And with that being said, man, let's get started. All right. Welcome to Survive and Protect. Let's go. All right. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to Survive and Protect. And this is going to be a 3-part series today. All right. This is a 3-part series. And I'm going to show you guys, or we're going to talk about anyway, about the 3 questions you should ask yourself that will help you improve your self-protection, personal protection. All right. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to break the questions down into different parts. So this is part 1. All right. So once again, 3 questions to ask yourself that will improve your personal protection or self-protection or personal security. You can fill in that blank there. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And this is part 1 of a 3-part series. All right. So I'm not going to be on here too long. I'm just going to discuss some things. And so let's get started with this. The first question for this particular day that we're going to talk about, all right, is what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? All right, what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? Okay. All right, so let's talk about that. Now, with these questions here, you can be as detailed as you want, or you can be as vague as you want. All right. But these questions should definitely help you with your personal protection. All right. So, what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? So, the good thing about this is that you could take that question, write it on a piece of paper, and then you can break down subcategories to that question. All right. So, let's give a few examples to that. Again, what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? Now you can break that down into subcategories. Okay. So, what would be a tactical or a crisis situation? Okay. Um, just off the top of my head, you can look at, for example, I got a couple of things already on top of my mind: home invasion, um, getting robbed at gunpoint, carjacking. You can be in a store and there ends up being a shooting inside the store. So you can take each one of those subjects and you can break down further on what you would how you would handle those situations or the things that you can actually do, because everybody's not the same in their physical abilities, their skills on hand to hand, some people's skills on using weapons, or being to improvise a weapon, or being able to spot what might be a weapon of opportunity to protect themselves, so on and so forth, is different amongst people. Then you got people at way more than others. Some people are lighter as far as their weight, tall, short. So you have all these different factors in there. And so you got to really be honest with yourself and write down, exactly what you can do, or what could you do that you think you can do in a tactical situation or a crisis situation. Also, on that list, I can name off some crises or crisis or tactical situations that could occur. They don't necessarily have to be dealing with on the criminal side. It can be environmental. It can be hurricanes. It can be storm. You can be driving in on the highway in blizzard weather, trying to get back home, and so that might be a crisis situation you have to deal with. And so, what is a good idea is to take that question, write it on the top of a page, and then start thinking of the things that you different crisis situations you can get into, or you might find yourself in, and you can break that down from weather, from criminal acts, natural disasters, things like that, and start putting it in a list, and then take each one individually and start thinking through some things you can do, and also some things you can probably plan ahead, so you don't have to wait on the actual situation to occur. You can have your plans in place in the event that it should occur. It may not, but if it does, you can plan for it ahead of time. All right. So again, like I said, you can have, there's just been a lot of snow pretty much across the US for the most part, but at different times, the Northwest and the West, I think, had a snowstorm a few weeks back, and then things kind of blew over onto the East Coast, and some middle states had some severe weather. I think might have received some snow, and you could, like I said, you could be traveling and run into a situation where you're getting back home, it's snowing heavily, and then it's getting, the snow is getting heavier and heavier. There was a situation not too long ago where some cars were stranded on the highway. Loads of cars were on the highway because the snow was just too heavy. And you got to plan for stuff like that. So again, that question, let's take that for example. Use that as a scenario. Okay, what can you do in a tactical or crisis situation? The crisis situation being that you was traveling on the interstate, snow got too heavy, cars started crawling really slow across the interstate, and then end up just coming to a stop. And then you find yourself just sitting around for hours. And so what could you do? Right? And you have to think through some things you could do. And you also can look at that from the standpoint of, all right, if I get myself in that situation, what things that I think I might need? Maybe some thick blankets, right? Maybe a gas can with some extra gas in the back, because you might have your car running so you can stay warm, or periodically turning it on, stopping it, or you might let it run for a few hours and turn it off. And then you take your blankets, wrap yourself up so you can be warm. And then, start your car up again. You might find that you're running out of gas, so you have an extra large gas can with some gasoline that you can put in the car so you don't run out of gas. Also, you got to consider if you're going to be hungry, and you won't really be able to cook anything unless you grab something. Something going on with my camera there. Unless you grab something to cook with, some type of portable stove, and that may or may not be necessary. So You might want to look at things from the standpoint of carrying things like buying some Slim Jims or something like that, or just have to hold you over. You could probably buy a bunch of those and just stock them up. And whenever you go traveling, you just grab some and put in just in case things get difficult, right? Again, I mentioned the gasoline. You might want to grab a pack of water, a bottle of water, and just something you keep in the car or whatever vehicle you're driving in. And you have something to drink. All right. So that can hold you over if you bring enough Slim Jims or beef jerkies, stuff like that, maybe some snacks here and there, and carry it with you when you travel, and just have it to where, and this is going to be used in case you get held over overnight during your travels in your car in some heavy weather. Then you have something that you be able to be taken care of for maybe a day and a half, who knows, and maybe the traffic will get better at some point. um the best bet is to try to get something that will last you at least 3 days if you can. You can buy you a backpack and just fill that up with beef jerky. And then that's when you go out to go travel somewhere, you just grab the whole backpack. You already have your water in the car. You got your blankets kind of folded up and stacked somewhere in the car, maybe in the trunk. And those are things you just stick in the trunk and you go ahead and go. And if something comes about where you stuck on the road, you have your backpack full of snacks, beef jerkies, whatever. You can stay warm with a few blankets, maybe carry you another extra hoodie or something like that. And you should be good. So that's one example of what you can do in that situation. So again, I'm gonna put that question on the screen. All right. This is part one of a three-part series. This question one: what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation to protect yourself? And like I said, that's really broad. It's a broad spectrum to look at. And so you can plan for these things. All right. So that's our question number one. And like I said, I just went through that scenario of being stranded on the road. That's just one example. You could be at a hotel and something goes down. That could be another example. All right. You could be in a store and something goes down. You can walk through the parking lot and somebody starts shooting. Those are tactical situations. Um, you could be confronted in a situation. So you have to deal with that tactical situation or a crisis situation. All right. So it's many subcategories to that question that you guys can just write down and just think it through as to what you would do, how you would handle those situations. All right. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Like I said, I wasn't gonna stay in here too long. I gave you some examples, and like I said, this is a three-part series. All right, of 3 questions to ask yourself that will improve your self-protection or personal security or your personal protection, whether for yourself or you and your family. You can also use that same question. And again, the question is, what are you going to do in a tactical or crisis situation? You can ask yourself that question, or also with family members, you could sit down and say, hey, what happened? What can we do in a tactical situation? Or let's name some tactical and crisis situations that could occur, that generally can occur wherever you live at, wherever you plan on traveling to, and just start writing down a list of all the different things, the subcategories to that question that can happen. All right. And then you just kind of go over it. That, like I mentioned the being stranded on the road. That's one example. Something at a hotel, you might be traveling to go somewhere and you go to a hotel. A situation can occur in a hotel. You can be at the hotel and go into a neighborhood store, and along the way something can happen there. So just make a list of things that could possibly happen. Don't limit yourself, and you can just mentally go through those lists and just think of things that you could actually do based on your skill level, your physicality, things like that. All right. And that will help you also plan ahead for a few things as well. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps you out. This is question number 1. The next episode, we'll do question number 2. And then lastly, question number 3 on another episode. All right. So again, appreciate y'all. Be sure to definitely check us out on the podcast listening platforms. Let me go over here real quick. As I mentioned, you can also listen to us. So whenever you can't watch me or watch the show here, you can always listen to the podcast, and I'll be updating the podcast pretty soon. All right, let me get this pulled up real quick. I'm sure it's available on a lot of listening platforms. All right, but I'll just give, if this thing will pull up. It's running super slow here. All right. Seems to be a delay, some drag here tonight. Let me all right, just making sure you guys can hear me. Got to periodically check because I did an episode earlier. All right, there we go. So be sure to check us out. You can listen to us on the podcast listening platforms. All right. And with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Always remember to be aware. Always watch a person's hands and have a plan. All right. With that being said, survive and protect. As always, I'm out. Peace. Sit down and brainstorm potential things that can happen, all right? Potential situations that can occur. I'm giving you a list here of possible things that can happen. You have fires, you have flash floods, home invasions, hailstorms, hurricanes. A pipe might burst in your house because, it's real cold in the winter at that time. It might burst in the summer, all right? Just never know. Tornadoes, blizzards, snow, mudslides, earthquakes, etc. All right. To prepare yourself for potential emergencies, take the free course, Simple Emergency Planning in 4 Easy Steps. Did I mention free? The link is in the description. Safe House is a location other than your primary residence that you can go to whenever you need assistance or protection from any possible criminal or violent encounters. The first thing you want to start off with, though, is look for your fire departments, your police departments, your EMS stations. Look for that first, and then look for your 24-hour locations. You don't want to look at gas stations, gyms that are open up for 24 hours. You want to look at hotels, stores like Walmart, things of that nature. That way, if something happens, an emergency occurs, you already know where they at. Go right to them. If you want to learn more on how to protect yourself, get the course, How to Be Your Own VIP Protection Specialist. The link is in the description.